Grand Teton National Park is growing in popularity because of the pristine beauty and its proximity to the world's famous Yellowstone National Park. With just 10 miles separating them, it's easy to fit both of them into one epic adventure. If you're into hiking and want to spend lots of time outdoors, then Grand Teton is the place for you. With 110 official hikes and over 200 miles of trails, it is truly the place to be if you want to spend time enjoying the stunning scenery. The hike to Cascade Canyon is without a doubt one of our most favorite hikes.
Look how clear that water is.
The name Jenny Lake dates back to the Hayden expedition of 1872 when Jenny Lee, Shoshone-Indian wife of Richard Beaver Dick Lee, assisted the expedition. I'm sorry, who the heck is gonna go by the name Beaver Dick? Grand Teton National Park received its name from early 19th century French trappers who called the Teton mountain range Les Trois Tetons, which means the three beasts or the three teats. The peaks they were referring to were Grand Teton, Middle Teton, and South Teton, which definitely stand out, especially when viewing this massive range from the Idaho side, the west side. The name was later shortened to Tetons. The Shoshone Indians called the entire mountain range Tewinutt, which means many pinnacles, but the name Teton stuck and became their official name, whereas the name Tewinutt became the name of one of the prominent peaks in the range. Grand Teton National Park was established in 1929 and then again in 1950. In 1929, President Calvin Coolidge went against enormous public opposition and approved the original 96,000-acre park, which encompassed the Teton Range and 6 glacial lakes. In 1943, President Franklin D. Roosevelt established the 210,000-acre Jackson Hole National Monument to protect the remaining federal lands on the valley floor. In 1950, President Harry S. Truman and Congress merged the monument, the national park, and a 35,000-acre donation from the John D. Rockefeller to create the 310,000-acre Grand Teton National Park we visit today.
Oh man. Beautiful. The clouds blowing over.
Earthquakes gave rise to the 40-mile-long Teton Range, which sits on a fault line. Over millions of years, earthquakes shook the land, causing blocks of land on both sides of the fault to slip past each other. The west block of the land rose upward to form the mountains, while the east block of the land dropped down to form the valley called Jackson Hole. The Tetons are the youngest range in the Rocky Mountains and some of the youngest mountains in the world. Starting 2 million years ago, glaciers formed and began sculpting the land. Ice up to 3,500 feet thick flowed across the valley floor and down the mountains, carving U-shaped canyons and jagged peaks like Grand Teton. Half of the 12 small glaciers can be found in the park today within the Cathedral Group, a collection of the tallest peaks in the range.
So inspiration points this way. Hidden Falls is that? Hidden Falls.
Yeah, when we get back then?
I don't. Do you want to do Hidden Falls? I don't know. Is it out and back? I don't know.
I think so.
Is Hidden Falls out and back?
Right here, now it's like 50 yards.
Oh, okay, cool. Excuse us. You're all right.
Eight peaks towering above 12,000 feet exist within the park. The highest peak, the Grand Teton, rises 13,770 feet above sea level. This park includes 7 lakes, Jackson Lake being the largest, Lee Lake, String Lake, Jenny Lake, Bradley Lake, Taggart Lake, and Phelps Lake, plus a number of alpine lakes, over 100 of them. The Snake River is the largest river within the park, and the major tributaries of the Snake River is Pacific Creek, Buffalo Fork, and Gros Ventre River.
Inspirational. Whew. This is awesome. Hello. All those people down there thinking they're at Inspiration Point.
Huh? Recharged.
Cascade Canyon.
This team is all about. Here, I got good. How far did you go, Mr. Speedwalker?
Up to the Cascade Point with a horse trail, and they came up to this horse trail and we did overlook over the lake.
Oh, cool.
Great.
Woo! No, I can't. I tell myself I'm going to stop recording. I tell myself I'm going to stop recording. And then we get this. Huh? Yeah. I was like, I can't stop now. This is beautiful.
This park is definitely a bird watcher's dream. Birders can find avian species of all shapes and sizes, up to 300 different species, from the trumpeter swan, the largest waterfowl in North America, to the calliope hummingbird, the smallest bird species in North America. This park is home to a wide variety of wildlife. 17 species of carnivores, including grizzly bears and wolves, 22 species of rodents, 6 different hoofed animals, 4 different species of reptiles, 6 species of amphibians, 3 species of rabbits or hares, 6 species of bats, 16 species of fish, and 900 different species of flowering plants, and 7 species of conifer trees.
Tara, I can't stop recording.
So you're like, we're going there, but then we're going in the valley, so
Yeah.
really,
You feel that temperature change?
yes. I was just thinking, I'm glad I kept this long sleeve on. I'm actually quite comfortable.
Right as you turn that corner, that cold wind hits you. Yeah. This is where it's at, man. Howdy. Tara. We're gonna run out of batteries again.
Huh?
So we're gonna run out of batteries again.
Worth it.
Right. Well, and I've got so much space on my phone, we can video whatever we want.
Yeah.
So. God, this is incredible. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Evidence suggests that the Grand Teton area was first inhabited by Native Americans around 11,000 years ago, but only by migratory hunters and gatherers. The weather and temperature was very harsh at the time, and these early people left the area during the colder months, exactly as the Teton elk herd still does to this day. In fact, they followed the elk's precise migratory path, and from 11,000 years ago to about 500 years ago, nothing changed with this migratory pattern, and no permanent settlement existed. The first white explorers entered the scene in the early 1800s when a member of the Lewis and Clark expedition named John Coulter left the expedition on his way back to St. Louis, with Lewis and Clark's permission of course, and joined up with two trappers to explore the area to the south of their Montana expedition, which happened to be Yellowstone Park and Grand Teton Park. In 1807 and 1808, John Coulter entered what is now known as Jackson Hole and became the first Caucasian to see the Teton Range. In 1810, John Coulter again met up with William Clark in St. Louis to produce a map of this area, and then for the next 30 years, John Coulter, known as the first mountain man, visited Jackson Hole on a regular basis to trap beaver for their lucrative pelts.
There's a little waterfall coming down. Looks like it's pretty significant up there.
Yeah.
You get some of the glaciers.
The period between 1810 and 1820 marked a period of some serious competition from various fur trading companies for the plentiful beaver population and their valuable pelts. But in the early 1820s, the Rocky Mountain Fur Company began to dominate the scene. Three members of the company included Jetta Smith, William Sublett, and David Edward Jackson, known as Davy Jackson. Jackson had the job of overseeing the trapping operations in the Teton area from 1826 to 1830, and the area became known as Jackson's Hole. Later, the name was shortened to Jackson Hole, and this valley has been called this ever since. Once most of the beavers were trapped and the beaver population dropped dramatically, white trappers left the area, and between 1840 and 1860, only a handful of small Native American tribes remained. The first U.S. government-sponsored expedition in 1859 to 1860, known as the Reynolds Expedition, was led by Captain William F. Reynolds. Captain Reynolds was guided by a well-known mountain man by the name of Jim Bridger, and among this team of adventurers was a famous naturalist by the name of F.V. Hayden. Their assignment was to leave the Teton area and cross over and pass that would lead them into the Yellowstone area, but the party was stopped by horrible weather conditions and deep snowfall. The otherwise would have become the first organized expedition to see Yellowstone National Park. The Civil War temporarily stopped all exploration efforts into the Yellowstone Teton area, but once the war ended, F.V. Hayden led the Hayden Geological Survey of 1871 into this area. In 1872, a small group of men led by James Stevenson was ordered to branch off from the main party and was to explore the Teton area. A photographer by the name of William Henry Jackson was in this first party of explorers and took the very first ever photo of the Tetons. During this expedition, many of the lakes and mountains were named.
See the water?
Rain last night, huh?
Well, that and the glaciers melting.
Several adventurers attempted to mine the area for gold and silver with little success, and pioneers began to also arrive in the hopes of farming or ranching. In time, cattle ranching prevailed, and by 1890 there was a permanent population of 60 people. In 1892, near present-day Moose, Menner's Ferry provided a way for wagons to cross the Snake River on the west side of the mighty Snake, where ranching further began to flourish up to the early 1920s.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What?
It's a dead tree. After the 1920s, there was a dramatic economic downturn which deceased the ranching operations in this area. However, as the automobile became more and more popular, many of these ranches became what is known as dude ranches. These dude ranches showed visitors from the city what life was like on a real western cattle ranch. Thus was born a new revenue source in the Jackson Hole area and has remained extremely popular ever since. All 310,000 acres of Grand Teton National Park and the National Forest and Wilderness land surrounding Yellowstone National Park are all part of what's known as the Greater Yellowstone Ecosystem. This immense 18 million acre expanse is one of the largest remaining intact mid-latitude ecosystems in the world.
That big old tree trunk. Look at the rocks embedded. You see that?
Yeah.
That's
kind of fresh, I think.
looks like it.
I mean, it does have moss and grass up there, but that grows fast.
Not that thick.
Cool.
Neato, banditos.
Grand Teton National Park is literally the most accessible park within the U.S. because it is the only park that has an airport inside of it. The Jackson Hole Airport was established in 1930. You can literally fly right into the national park, then hitch a ride down to the many lodges that this park has, or even right down the street to Jackson Hole.
I mean, yeah. You want to stop?
Huh?
You want to stop? I know. We have to eventually, right?
Yeah.
But man, I don't want to.
This is our turnaround point. We wanted to keep hiking and we discussed whether or not we should keep hiking because we still hadn't seen most of the park and we were only here for a day. So because of that, we turned around. But the beauty and the temperature of the day made us want to keep hiking, and we didn't even feel tired at this point. But when we were about to finish our hike, that's when it set in and we were exhausted. So it's a good thing we turned around and didn't add another 10 miles to our already 17-mile hike. You can find black bears and grizzly bears in this park. Just because it's named black bear doesn't mean it's necessarily black. You will find lots of brown colored black bears in the park. As a note, always carry bear spray when hiking and never run if encountered a bear. We were not lucky enough to see a bear during our trip. Every mountainside I would look and stare in between the trees or the rocks to see if I would find a bear, but no such luck. It's probably actually a good thing we didn't see a bear because they say not to run, and I probably would have ran. At least all of me would want to run. The abundance of wildlife in the park includes buffalo and elk herds, coyotes, moose, foxes, bears, wolves, and bald eagles, which are the real treasures of the park that led the way in conserving and protecting species from extinction. The area receives an average of 21.6 inches of precipitation each year, and the annual snowfall in the valley reaches 173 inches. That's in a good year. The snowy period of the year lasts for 7 months, from October 8th to May 8th, with a sliding 31-day snowfall of at least 1 inch. The month with the most snow in Grand Teton is December, with an average snowfall of 12.5 inches. Beyond Inspiration Point, the Cascade Canyon Trail curves to the west, ascending on easy grades through trees and lush vegetation along the north side of Cascade Canyon. The rugged crags of Q Point rise to the north of the trail. Over the next 3.7 miles, the trail will gain about 650 feet on its way to the forks of Cascade Canyon, which is where we happen to turn around. As you hike up Cascade Canyon, keep an eye out for moose, which are often seen grazing in the dense willows along the canyon bottom. You will also see beaver dams along sections of the creek. We did actually see a moose on our way back, but we didn't record it. Reading up on the site hiking and walking, I wish we would have checked this out before our trip to Grand Teton. They note that if time and energy permit, they strongly recommend continuing beyond the forks for 0.9 miles. The trail initially travels through forests, crossing to the west side of Cascade Canyon at mile 5. As you ascend, the trees give way to open meadows, revealing an interesting granite knob rising to the west. A waterfall tumbles down the brushy slopes to the south side of the knob. We would have continued hiking and added another 2 miles to our already 17-mile hike, but I bet it would have been worth it.
Look at this. Yep, I'd say this is worth it already. You know? Oh yeah. Indeed. Look at that. The horses beyond this point. This is cool. Look at that. Cool. Yeah, that's why I showed it.
Whatever your destination is around Cascade Canyon, after enjoying the views, turn around and retrace your steps back to the boat dock. Keep an eye on the time so you don't miss the last boat back and have to walk an additional 2 miles back to your vehicle, which is precisely what we are doing right now. We just had such a great time taking in the sights, that we thought, oh well, we'll just walk those 2 miles back. It was a beautiful 2 miles, but our legs were dead.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Looks like this might have been the way to walk, coming the opposite way. Look at that tree. Thing's gnarly.
Look at that. You can see there's some bears coming down. It might be cool, but
hey, boo boo.
yeah.
There's an eagle. I think. Maybe hawks.
I don't know. I saw some white on it. Could be a young one. Isn't it?
Yeah, could be. A little fledgling. Shoot this coming over.
I sure wish we weren't such newbies when we were recording this video. It could have been a masterpiece. But as is, it's just beautiful to watch, no matter how jagged the footage may be. If you like this video, then hit the like button and subscribe to our channel, because why not?